NHL Insiders reveal a massive plot twist in the JT Miller drama series, with the source of the trade motivations possibly coming from a different rift in the organization. And Tocchet's frustrated post-game quotes showcase what fans like and dislike most about the reigning Jack Adams winner. We're going to be breaking down all that in this episode of Canucks Digest, but first make sure to hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon so you don't miss any updates surrounding the Canucks as we recovered from a tough loss last night. And with that, let's hop into the first topic of the day, which is Farhan Lalji and Nick Kypreos drop a plot twist. So the first one we're going to dive into is Farhan Lalji talking about JT Miller on TSN 1200, saying what we understand was a confrontation, not physical, after this one game when he got benched, and the next day the organization announced he was going to take a personal leave. I believe this is talking about the game against the Predators, if I'm not mistaken, where JT Miller was benched for basically the entire third period and recorded his lowest ice time of the season. And then right after that, we knew something was up, that something was not right in the organization, whether with Tocchet and Miller or with just Miller, or we just assumed it was just me, Petey, and Miller as well. And then he goes on this leave, on that leave right after it, and then the questions started swirling around what it could have been. Then Nick Kypreos talking on Sportsnet 650 saying, I heard something happened between Tocchet and Miller in the last week to cause this rush to trade him. So right when Miller goes on leave, everyone has their theories about what possibly could have happened or what the reason was for him leaving. And then it led to a whole bevy of rumors. Some of them were horrible. Some of them were somewhat valid. Some of them were just plain up ridiculous. But it seems like this could be what the truth actually is versus what we were believing. This entire time after he came back, we looked at what happened in October with him and Petey, and then we look at what was happening now with him and Petey, and thinking that, okay, the problem with Miller and Petey right now is that they don't like each other and there's a rift between them. But with the Tocchet benching Miller in the third period and having his lowest ice time, that was the first indication where maybe something isn't right between the two of them. And now looking back on it, seeing this massive rush to trade him all of a sudden, where even the Canucks are somewhat contemplating taking a low ball deal where they are ultimately going to get screwed out of value in this trade just to get rid of him. Then it comes out Nick Kypreos saying what he's saying, that the rush to trade him comes from the rift between him and Tocchet and the confrontation they've had. That fuels even more fire to the flame of maybe this is really the truth of the matter, that all along we were supposed to believe that it was between him and Petey and create all this drama within the organization, whether it was true or not, but when really it's been the relationship with him and Tocchet that's been fractured this whole time, and now it's just gotten to a point where they can't rectify it, and within the morale of the team as well, you can't rectify that locker room, it seems like. So now the Canucks are trying to get rid of him seemingly at any cost. They're willing to take a bag of pucks at this point just to get rid of him, and they don't seem to care about it. So that's something where the Canucks need to be cautious of going forward and not letting Miller walk out the door for nothing. Make sure you can at least get something for him. We covered that in our last video. But looking at this, what do you guys think about it, of if Tocchet is really the reason why JT Miller is getting pushed out of Vancouver or shipped out? What do you guys think about it, and whose side are you taking? It seems like the Canucks have chosen the side of Rick Tocchet and sticking with him and getting rid of JT Miller. But what do you guys think about that decision, if it is true, down below? Let us know what you guys think down in the comments. So that's going to take us into our second topic of the day, which is Tocchet's tumultuous post-game quotes. So we see here in one of the first of many that we're going to dive into with covering his post-game quotes following the loss to the Sabres. He says, yeah, I don't know if it's urgency or hockey IQ that made them relax a bit last night. Like, we defer, we've got a bunch of good things happening, and then all of a sudden a guy gets it, and then he just defers to not moving his feet, and I'll just throw it to the point. And I think sometimes whether we think it's going to be easy or because we had like 5 chances in a row, that's the hard thing to flip. That's the one thing the coaching staff gets a little frustrated with, because when you've got the other team down, you really want to keep doing the same thing, but we've got to attack the interior. But I just felt like we were just perimeter. Perfect example. We scored a goal because our D was moving their feet, changed directions, we got the puck through. So I think it's a lot of that stuff. We're freezing, or for whatever reason we're getting satisfied. I don't know why we would be satisfied. And absolutely agree with Tocchet there at the end. Even with the 2-goal lead, never be satisfied. Even with a 3-goal lead, never be satisfied. Keep your pedal to the metal and make sure that you're ensuring the victory at no matter cost, as long as it's not coming at an injury risk. But with the way that the Canucks played last night, it did seem like they did not have anything going. It was a lot of dump and chase hockey, but that takes us into what the second quote was covering, which is the complaint that a lot of people have with Tocchet. Right, just like how in many of these quotes he talks about holding his players accountable and calling some of them out, not by name, but just subtly. This is one of the main complaints people have about Tocchet's style of coaching is, yes, it's physical, but they play a lot of dump and chase offensive hockey. He says to be a rush team, you need all 5 people skating. You can't just have 2 guys skating and the rest posting up. Being satisfied, maybe we were up 2-1, you stop skating. We've been preaching that until the cows come home. You got to move your feet in this league. You've got to attack the interior. You've got to attack the wall, and you have to double drives. And that's a good rush team. The D's, you got to get them up in the play. You can't lag behind. You need 4 attack as a good rush team. Sometimes we're not getting that for whatever reason. And it seems like we just don't have the speed to have a good rush team. Just because you look at our defensive core, it's been very tough this season, especially when one of our main puck-moving defensemen, Erik Brannstrom, just is not in the lineup. They're not using him, and especially when they could use him, because other than Quinn Hughes, no one else is really going to get the puck moving and get the puck in the net other than him on defense. So bringing him into this roster full-time, I know a lot of people are divided on it. They could say what they want about the advanced stats, but in a season where we just need to win games, we don't need to be worried about the specifics of the advanced stats and where they are and all those things. If we're scoring goals and we're winning games, that's what matters. They don't ask how, they ask how many. So if we bring in Brannstrom and he's able to finally get some more offense as to add to a rush on defense from a defensive standpoint on the offense, bring him in and try and get that going. We need anything to work at this point for the Canucks. And yes, he did start out flashy and then fizzled out with his tenure with the Canucks before going on waivers and then to Abbotsford. But if you can utilize him in this lineup in the way that you're utilizing Quinn Hughes, even a fraction of that, he will be effective, and we will finally have more reliability in this defensive core, not only on the defensive front, but also in creating offensive chances and making sure that we can have a rush and we don't have guys lagging behind, and we aren't just playing dump and chase hockey and just killing time, killing opportunities, and not generating any real scoring chances. And the other thing Tocchet did go into that could feed into that is the teams and the players' confidences in themselves. He says there's pockets of some good stuff, and like I said, there's pockets where we're just, I don't know if I want to say defeated, but we were up 2-1. You should feel confident. You should want that puck. You should know know off the face-off, this is where I've got to go for whatever reason. I don't know. There's a few guys, whether a few, could be 4, 5, 6 guys. Somewhere tonight, they were just kind of standing around. It's almost like it's too big for them sometimes. I don't know why. Just go play. That's the frustrating part. Some guys have to just go unlock, whether it's some nervousness or where to go. I don't know. And we saw that last night with 2 of Buffalo's goals coming directly off of those defensive draw losses. And as much as people don't want me to say it, if you lose JT Miller, you are putting that even more at a greater risk, because he's one of the best at the faceoff circle. And when we have him in there, it's almost a surety that he's going to pull away with that faceoff win, and the defense just has to do the rest at just getting the puck out of the zone. So if you were willing to part with him for nothing and compromising the rest of your faceoff percentage for the rest of the season, I don't know what else to say really, because that's super disappointing. Like JT Miller, as much as people are talking about him right now and all those things, he is still a stud in the faceoff circle, and we need to have that just be going forward. When we lost a game like that, in that fashion, as a result of faceoff draws and dump and chase hockey, which we just addressed, but that's the other element where the Canucks lost this game, was not being able to win the defensive zone draws, and it cost them 2 goals, cost them the game. So they need to shape that up, and if they're willing to part with Miller, that's not going to shape it up exactly. So that's one of the things that, as much as people are talking about Miller, be very, very wary of that, and realize that if we lose him, we lose a lot of face-off draws, and that can't happen. And when talking about the team's inconsistencies as well, Tocchet said, consistency is a responsibility on an individual player. You've got to come to the rink and consistently do the hard things, do the right things, and then whenever everybody collectively does that, that's when the team becomes consistent. We saw that last season. I don't know, sometimes we're just lacking that. Some nights you might just have to do this to be consistent for us. And I think when we score a goal and we're up 2-1, I think our next 3 shifts we made some blind plays. We're actually giving Buffalo a chance to go the other way. Some guys have to know their role, and you can't always try and score when it's not there. That's something that we've talked about, and where we've got to flip it. We've got to flip that attitude, and we're going to be in trouble this season. And when looking at the opportunity that they had to tie the game with Filip Hronek and just having that open side of the net and it hitting the heel of his stick, I saw someone post on Twitter that was really a great moment to sum up the Vancouver Canucks season, where the opportunity is right there and the execution just never follows through. And whether it's because the puck takes a bad bounce, someone gets hit, it's a bad shot, whatever reason, the opportunity is right there for the Canucks for the taking each time, and they aren't able to do it. So that's something where we're heading into the Four Nations showdown coming up. We're probably going to move on from JT Miller before that if they can get something valuable for him. If not, you carry him into the offseason and see what value you can actually get for him, and not having to compromise the rest of your season and your future in exchange for that. Just because there's a little bit of drama going on, we're all grown-ass men. We can set aside our differences as long as you can win games and it's not causing a massive detriment to your team. But what do you guys think down below? What do you guys think of all this drama? Would love to hear what you guys have to say. I know it's been a lot. It's been a long season for the Canucks fans and the Canucks team. I feel like we're not even 3/4 of the way through the season, and it feels like we're already in our postseason depression at this point, just because of all the drama, the injuries, the losses, the overtimes, everything in between. It's been a very stressful season, but I hope you guys are doing okay, and I hope that we can just go on to greener pastures from here on out, and we can start winning more hockey games. But that's going to do it for this episode of Canucks Digest. I've been your host, Griffen. Take care.